I'm always glad to have this opportunity. Just like Pastor Scott said, he's a very generous man. And as my pastor, my leader, I'm grateful for just the fact that he gives Rick and my wife and I just chances to come and do this. So if you don't know who I am, I'm the youth pastor here along with my wife. We both are part of Unveiled Generation, and we minister to the youth here from 7th grade to 12th, 6th grade to 12th. Let's not exclude the 6th graders, sorry. So that's our job here. I primarily work with junior high, so a lot of how I go about my teaching is I include a game at the beginning. So I'm not going to do that today. I would really love to. There's no time, and plus it would involve moving all the chairs out of the way and a line down the middle here, and dodgeball. But here's the awesome thing, is I would tie it in. There'd be an object lesson from the game we play into what I teach, so it's kind of cool. And by the way, I came up with this awesome dodgeball game and the details of it, and even a name. And I'll give you the name, but I'm not going to give anything else and reveal anything else about it, just because if this becomes a popular thing, you know, I want the credit, and I want to trademark the name. So this is the name. It combines the word comrade and evade. So it's Comrade Evade. Cool, huh? Yeah. It's got a ring, I know. So Comrade Evade. So I need to talk to some people in video game land just to make sure they don't have Black Ops 3 special missions Comrade Evade, because I want Comrade Evade for me. So I don't get to do that with speaking in here, unless you want to. I mean, I'll go get the dodgeballs. And next time, when Pastor Scott asks me to preach, every time, you know, he gives me that phone call or he just stops me and says, "Hey, I need you to preach this particular Sunday," I'm immediately he asks me, and I'm just like, you know, super amped. And then at the same time, that's one half of me. The other half of me is just going, and, you know, of course I agree to do it because I love this opportunity. But after that, you know, the phone call ends and I walk away and like, yes, I get to preach. Oh no, what am I going to preach on? And that look on my face is then, okay, what am I going to do? All right. So then I start thinking of ideas. This is my really long intro, and I'm going to get to my sermon eventually. But so I start thinking, okay, it's the day after Thanksgiving, or the Sunday after Thanksgiving. What could I do? Is there a post-Thanksgiving sermon? What we were thankful for? That doesn't. You shouldn't be post-thankful for anything. We should always be thankful for things. So that's not going to work. And then I think, well, I've done this probably 3 other times this year, maybe. I'll just, you know, re-preach one from the past. Maybe nobody will remember, or, okay, there's people here that would. And if I was wearing the same shirt, they might connect it, you know. He had already talked about this. I know I've heard him preach about this. Or can I stretch, like I said, one of my 20-minute junior high sermons, you know, just when people do that. So I couldn't figure out what to do. So what should we do when we don't know what to do? Yes. God. Stay on camera. Okay. God, what do I pray about? You know, and I went to my knees. And for me, a lot of times, God will give me 2 or 3 ideas. And I will, you know, kind of, you know, do this circling of, okay, this has come up. I've been dealing with this in my life, or I've been helping people through this in my life. So maybe that's what I should preach on. God, give me confirmation of this. Speak to me over this. Pray some more about it. Okay, now I'm down to 2. All right. Oh, man. It's like, okay, I like that. You're giving me things on this, God. I just read this passage. Oh, yeah, let me do that. And then, oh, man, but I've been meeting with this person, and I just, okay, now I feel like I'm supposed to go this direction. God, give me confirmation again. And I do that. That's just my system, I guess, church. Anyway, who knows what serendipitous means? Serendipity. We should know what that word means. I love that word. It's fun to say, serendipity. What it means is something very fortunate happens at an unexpected time. So there you go, your word for the day. If you got that app in your phone, wordofthedaydictionary.com or whatever, it pops up on my phone every morning, and I look at it sometimes, and my wife and I make jokes about the words and how I can't say most of them. So there was my confirmation. I'm working on my sermon. I get a text from a friend, and he says, hey, can you give me a call? And when I get a call from this, or a text from this friend, or a phone call, it's about life and about things that's going on and about what we're doing and the fun we're having, but then it always turns into what we are to each other. And what that is for me is having somebody that I'm accountable to. And that's what we're going to get into today. So, Michael, if you can introduce my sermon. I want to ask you guys, and you probably have already seen it, it's the title of your sermon in your insert, but are you aluminum foil or are you plastic wrap? I mean, what do you want to be? Who wants to be this? Walk around, peer out every now and then. Hi, howdy world, how's it going? Or do you want to be saran wrap? Or hey, everybody can see my face right now, I hope. It might be a little, light glare, but we're out in the open, right? So that's what God put on my heart, church. You guys, accountability. Do you guys know what it means? Okay. In the simplest terms, in the world, I should say, let's say I'm applying for me, it's reapplying for disability insurance, which, by the way, I'm doing really well health-wise. God's got this, and I feel good. So he's provided in ways that we can't even begin to describe. But I have to fill out paperwork to continue my disability benefits because that's something that I'm getting as a result. But I'm back to work, but I'm not full-time. So I have to fill out these forms, and there's times where I could say, okay, well, I didn't make as much as I did the year before, but I'm working more. Well, maybe I'll just say, okay, I made the same or less. And then if I get a letter in the mail that says notice of action, okay, if you ever see that on anything, that's bad. Thankfully, I haven't, but you think, okay, what did I do wrong? And you need to be held accountable. And I need to explain, I'm responsible for something that I did, and I need to justify it. I need to explain it. I'm now accountable for what I did. So accountability, in a nutshell, is justifying your actions and understanding that you have a responsibility for those actions. Now, we have at this church, if you guys know this, there's 2 nights a week, there's meetings here. Wednesday and Thursday. Well, there's things we do on Thursday that are also small groups. We have 2 distinct meetings at this church, and they both involve people in dealing with struggles. And if you're a part of those groups, it's an anonymous thing, right? I'm not even going to identify you. Oh, Pastor's but you're the lead. Oh, wait, no, you're not the lead. I've heard that you were. So those groups are for people who struggle with substance abuse. Those are very common issues, and I got to tell you right now, I'm very grateful to God. For me personally, that's not ever become an issue in my life, and for me, I'm extremely thankful. That is not something that I deal with. Now, here's the thing: there's other things we can deal with, we can struggle with in life, right? That we need support, we need help with, and there's groups you can go to. So there's meetings honestly, there's meetings for people who overeat. I used to take a youth that I worked with at my day job to these meetings, and I forget what they called it, but it was kind of like Weight Watchers, where you'd go every week, and you get the meal plan, and you'd take it with you, and then you'd get weighed in and all this stuff, kind of like boxing, I guess. But you had to be held accountable for the work you were doing, and you had somebody help you through it. which, of course, with the NA and AA, they call that a sponsor, right? So they have meetings for that. Can you guys think of anything else? Like, I think there's actually meetings for people who are anorexic, too. That's something people struggle with. We don't realize it, but that could be a coping mechanism. Just like overeating and wanting to do that, not eating is, well, for people, it's an insecurity issue. I want to be a size 0. I don't even know what that means because I'm 32, and, you know. So, okay, for the men here, you know, it's, for the men here, let's put it in, you know, manly terms. You know, you got to hit the gym. You know, you want to have, you know, the bulk. And I mean, I've tried, but I just can't get the weight on, you know. But that, I think, is an insecurity issue. And we need help getting through those things, too. What else? Can you think of anything else? There's that big machine at the grocery store that you put money in, and then a little card comes out. What? Gambling. Yes, gambling. Lottery. I don't play lottery personally. I like $1, you know. I don't even want to play the dollar lottery. I'd rather get a dollar menu food. So, which I try not to eat because it's not good, but I don't want to do that. And I'm thankful to God that that's not something I struggle with either. I mean, well, then there's things we need also for people who are grieving, right? We need support groups for people who are just dealing with loss. Very, very important. We have also, for me, I was actually offered, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was offered a support group that I can go to and get help, just to sit with other people that are struggling through this. There are all kinds of meetings for people and things they deal with, right? Now, how does this tie back into my aluminum plastic foil wrap sermon? We need accountability partners for things that I know people struggle with here, that are those deep, dark, inner, hidden aluminum foil issues that are embarrassing, and I don't want to come up from behind it. Can you agree? I sure can. I'll be one of those first people to say it. And when I say embarrassing, church, I mean the things that the church doesn't talk about. The world is just slowly accepting it, I think. It's just been let in commercials, and you look at the internet. You know what? Honestly, go in my next slide. I mean, who has one or two or all of these things? I think everybody does here, right? And here's the thing, too. As I hear about Christmas coming, and I see lists and the youth I work with at my job, everybody wants electronics. You know, what happened to train sets and, flying helicopters, which I want. I like trains, too. I want toys, less than this, but all the kids want a new tablet and a TV in their room and the best phone. It's all electronics. Here's the thing. These things are doorways, church. These are doorways into anything and everything. And it's bad that these things can lead to. Like I said, they're embarrassing inner struggles that we can have. And these are things that, for me personally, it took me a long time in my life to admit that I struggled with. I grew up in the 80s when there was 3 channels. I mean, a lot of you grew up in the time when there was 3 channels. Finally, there were 4 with Fox, I guess. And then we got cable and other things, and it has become so inundated what these devices can do and what they can access. It is so out there, church, and it scares me how much it's in the world, and how much I also believe it is infecting the church more than we want to admit. Anybody know what that line means, what song that's from. I could sing it, Mr. Addison. What song is it from? Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. They're up above. Who's looking down in love? Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. I sang this when I was a kid. Didn't really understand what it meant. But this song is so applicable in these days. So this is speaking to the youth in this church right now. Be careful what you see. Adults as well. Like I said, it took me a long time to get to the point where I could admit that I had this struggle. First it was my wife, then it was to my former pastor, and then I needed somebody else I could go to that was outside of that realm, somebody that was anonymous to everybody else around me. Okay? That was my accountability partner. That was that guy that called me and confirmed what I was going to speak to you guys about today. So I can't brush past this, church, because this is the world we live in. Anything's accessible, anytime, anywhere, wherever we're at. If you guys don't know where I'm going at with this, it's the immorality, and I'm going to just get more specific with words. The immorality, church, the lust, the sexual desire, and the word nobody ever wants to talk about, pornography. It is out there, but it's also in here. I am a pastor, and it's a struggle. When I had to admit those things, it was hard. But I can't even begin to tell you how freeing it was. We sing those songs, I am free to run. Those who the Lord set free are free indeed. We can't sing that if we've not been freed, okay? And I'm talking everything. We need to let those things be known. Okay, I'm not saying stand up right now and tell me, but you need to find somebody. You need to let God know. You need to know, first of all, that He loves you and He sees you as beautiful. Right now, no matter what you're going through, we hit this hard every time we get up and preach, don't we? He loves you right now as you are. He loves you because He loves you, and He'll never stop loving you all the way, all the time. It's understanding that if we're not set free from that bondage, or we've not told somebody about this and not understood that somebody else is dealing with this as well, we're really not free, because in our minds we're still struggling, right? We're still looking down because I'm embarrassed, God, every time I fail, every time I mess up. I know you're just... And that's Satan, first of all, church. Satan's saying to you, you're dirt, you did it again. You're never going to get past this. You're never going to beat it. But when we do admit it, there's a freedom that we can experience. I want to read from 1 Samuel 18. I'm going to try to move through some of these slides quickly as my time goes so fast. You guys know who David is. Not me, but the Bible. David, he became the king of Israel. He had a very close friend, the son of Saul. His name was Jonathan. If you guys know this story, these two became very, very close friends. I'm just going to read, kind of paraphrase through some of this. There was an immediate bond between Jonathan and David, for Jonathan loved David. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as he loved himself. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking off his robe and giving it to David, together with his tunic, sword, bow, and belt. All those words I underlined, bond, pact, sealed, they all refer to a covenant that two people are making between each other, especially when Jonathan gave him those particular things. When you're giving over your robe, it's you symbolizing that whatever you're going through, I see you as myself, honestly. You know, here is what I have on me. I'm identifying with you and what your life, what your struggles are. That, for me, is honestly how, well, when I read it and I read what the Hebrew word was, it said immediate bond, meaning joined together. I think they worked through, we don't have I don't have specific stories that I'm going to go into right now, but these two went through a lot together, and they were there for each other. Actually, the Living Bible calls them blood brothers, which I think is pretty cool. Pretty cool name for that, church. We need to be accountable to each other. And we need to be a person that other people can come to. I want to get to the fill-ins right now. So slide 7, Michael. The first thing, church, is we need to be active listeners to people. If you don't know what that means, we need to sit with somebody, and if it takes 10 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, however much time it takes for that person to actually admit, this is what I'm going through. We need to wait. We need to listen. We need to give them time. Let them speak. Allow them to show emotion. James 1:9 says, understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Quick to listen. Don't try to fix it right away. I'm a fixing type person. I want to fix people. That's what my job during the day tells me, and that's what my wife is always reminding me. Stop trying to fix people. Let people let things out. Give them time. Your second fill-in, church, is, do I have a non-judgmental attitude? Guess what? You better, because guess what? We don't get to judge. We are not the judge. If you need to know that you're not the judge, you will be humbled when you read Matthew 7. Go there later today. The first verse actually says, you cannot judge because I am the judge. And who is the I? Jesus. We don't get to judge. 1 John 4:21 says, and he gave us this command, those who love God must also love fellow believers. If we love God, we must love each other. We cannot look at everyone else and think of ourselves as better and judge them because of what they're going through because, well, I don't deal with that, so I'm better. And the third fill-in, church, is, am I able to deeply care for another person? I thought of this phrase because we say this a lot, especially to kids, sharing is caring. But in this case, it's so important. It's the truth. We need to be able to share what we're going through. And I'm not talking the little tiny things. Yeah, obviously, I'm not talking about recipes and men's trading tools. I'm talking about our struggles and our sins, the deepest, darkest struggles that we're going through. 1 Thessalonians 5:1 says, encourage each other and build each other up, just as you are already doing. So the people of Thessalonica were doing that. To keep doing that, though, they needed to continue to build each other up. Deeply care for another person. Now, these three things, they seem easy to do, right? Okay, I can listen to somebody. Okay, I'm not going to judge them. I can care for somebody. I think I can do all those things. But can you do it to the extent, like I keep saying, to where it is painful for that person to come out and say, this is my struggle? It's just as hard. Now, understand, I told you what I deal with. Everyone else has a different struggle. Maybe two. These are all things that Satan, over the years, we've dodged a lot of things, through life. But at some point, Satan, after we put that armor of Ephesians 6 on, we're, okay, I'm good. I'm going to fight off anything he throws at me. But guess what? He'll start chinking at that armor, And they'll find that place that you're vulnerable. And if it's drugs, if it's alcohol, if it's any of the other things we mentioned, he's going to take that and he's going to exploit that, church. He's going to beat you down with it, make you feel like you're the worst of the worst, honestly, church. Like you are the only person that struggles with this. And the church should be the last place that we look at anybody else and we think that we can't do these things for each other. Now, I talk about accountability. These aren't things that we're just going to go to with anybody, right, church? Accountability means a person that you're going to call that specifically will not judge you, will be an active listener, will deeply care for you. They need to be that kind of person. That can be hard to find. I'll tell you right now. It can be a very hard thing to find, but right now I'll tell you, we can help you find that person. Your pastors, even people, you guys, you can help each other find that person. For me, that was also serendipitous that God brought that person in my life because I did not see them as struggling with that. Hebrews 10:24, let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. We need somebody in our lives that's always reminding us that God loves us no matter what. And when we fall, when we stumble, church, somebody's going to be there to pick up your hand and say, it's okay, let's pray. Because when I think I've gone a long time and I'm doing really well, that's when Satan hits me hard with things. You know, actually this week was a tough week. And with my friend calling me and telling me he was having a tough week, I was like, God, that's what I needed to hear. Because you want me to speak about something that I'm struggling with, that I'm fighting off. I need that person. Here's what I've also done, church, just really quickly, and we'll give you the information. There are resources, actual resources out there for those items, for the TVs, for the phones, for the iPads, for your computer. And they are designed to block those things. And if you try to look at them, it'll send an email, it'll send a text message to a close friend, your accountability partner, and let them know. And when I have that temptation hit my mind, I immediately think, he's going to call me. My wife's going to know. She's also on that list. Let me tell you, that is huge, having her on the list. I don't want to go there. These resources will also block. If you even try to go, I've tried to go look at news, and because there are side advertisements that will show things that are inappropriate to our eyes, church, it'll block that. And I'll think, I just wanted to read about how the Buckeyes did, which, hey, they beat Michigan yesterday. So that's all that matters. But we need to find that person in our lives. We need those guards put up. I want to read Galatians 6:2 really quickly. Dear brothers and sisters, if any believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall in the same temptation yourself. Share each other's burdens, and in this way, obey the law of Christ. Share each other's burdens. Gently and humbly help that person back on the right path. Be careful not to fall into that same temptation. That's why we need accountability. We need that person in our life. That's what that call from my friend was all about. How we needed to talk to each other about the things that Satan's always trying to drag us down with. Well, next thing, Michael. We know, church, we're accountable to God. Ultimately, we're going to stand before him. We're going to have to give an account of our lives, how we've lived them, how we've used them. Now I want to ask you the question. Actually, Romans 14:1, for anybody that needs to know this. Yes, each of us will give a personal account to God. I don't want you to fill this in right now unless you can, but we need to be accountable to somebody. I didn't just throw that up there to say, okay, I'll think about it. I want you to think about that seriously. There's no question mark at the end, right? It's a period. We'll help you find that person. I will help you find that person. I'll tell you right now, because of what I deal with, me personally, and I know with what everyone else here deals with, if it's the alcohol and the drugs, if it's the overeating, if it's the gambling, those struggles in your life, there is somebody that you can go to that can help you through it. Find that person. So, church, are you aluminum foil? Do you want to keep being this? You want to hide behind this? You want to come to church every Sunday and think that that's going to be enough, that your salvation, which is enough, church. But when we keep feeling that beat down, that fight that we're going through where we don't know what we're going to do, unless we can be this person that has the transparency towards another person to just reveal your struggle, your hurt, we're still going to feel like an unbeautiful, unaccepted person. Pastor Scott and the worship team, if you guys could get ready. I just want to read this last verse. We'll skip the last slide, Michael. Ecclesiastes 4:9 and 10 says, 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. 2 are better than 1. If one person falls, the other one can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Having somebody reach out to help is huge. Even if your accountability partner is 12 hours away, it's still worth it to find that person. There's freedom in it, church. We're free in the Lord, but when Satan tries to beat us down, we can be free in those little times and those big times that we fall. Because when we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us. And when we go through it with somebody else, they're going to do exactly what that verse says. They're going to help you succeed. They can be the person that reaches out and says, I'll help you. Because I don't want to fall alone, and I'm choosing not to fall alone anymore. I want the help.